Well, welcome back to GEARHAULICS, everybody. The perfect place to cry for 30 minutes if you tore a hole in your brand new Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer. Well, look who I got with me today. I've got or I should say, my returning co-host and Huck from Huck Outdoors, and we also have
Howdy.
special guest tonight, Andy from Metro on the Move. What's going on tonight, gentlemen? How are we feeling?
Feeling good.
Awesome. All right. First couple episodes are in the can and kind of done. We're kind of making our way and moving through our big three, so to speak. So we started off with top quilts, and then we kind of transitioned into non-freestanding tents, more so over the other kinds of tents. And then tonight we're going to be focusing more so on backpacks, mostly top level, kind of generalized. If you have props, as always, feel free to show them on screen, but let's just dive right into I know Andy does. Andy's ready. Let's dive right into the different topics that we have for tonight. The first kind is to just talk about the different types that are there. I can only really think of a couple, so I'll just start it off and say that the biggest things that I can think of are a framed and non-framed pack, and the biggest differences there are basically how they're constructed. So non-framed packs, for the most part, as it kind of like states in the name, there's no frame that kind of goes on your back panel, and they tend to be a lot more like no frills, right? You can have a roll down closure top. Not a lot of non-frames go with zippers, but they could have them. And then for the frame packs, it usually focuses more so on compartmentalization. A lot of times they'll have that hip belt so that you can shift the weight from your load lifters from your shoulders down to your hips. You have that sleeping bag compartment and all these different pockets and maybe a brain to kind of go through. But anything else on the different types of packs that you guys want to throw in there? We could start with you tonight, Andy.
Oh, well, so for me, as far as the different types, like you covered a few of them. But for me, I do carry pretty much all types. So I do have a framed and frameless pack. Specifically, my frame pack is the Hyperlight Southwest 3400. It's got two aluminum stays going through the back, so that's a frame of some sorts. But I also have the Waymark Through Ultra, which is a frameless pack. And I would say the pros and cons is basically how much weight you're taking with you. That's what I see the pros and cons of that is. And then as far as the roll down versus the zipper, I think it comes down to the waterproofness is really what that's all about. So as far as different types, you covered a lot of them, but that's my 2 cents on that right there.
Yeah. So cool. With the frame pack, so you got external and internal frames. And I wasn't into backpacking when there was more of the external frame, like the old Kelty packs, where you
right.
weighing 70, 80 pounds, and you've got your sleeping bag on the outside, your tent on the outside, and you've got all your cooking gear out there, and you're flanking along the trail, bang, bang, bang. Yeah, I didn't have one of those. I came into it, with the internal frame packs, and the only pack I have that's frameless, I think, is actually like my Waymark Mile, which would be for super ultralight.
Right on. Yeah, like the external frames are kind of like dinosaurs now, but I think I don't know, was it Andy? I think you were on a trip. I don't know if it was with your father-in-law who still had one, still rocking one recently. Like it seems like you can't.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. My father-in-law has an old school. I think it was a Kelty.
Wow.
Frame pack actually, and he had it up to about 50 pounds. It was pretty impressive because he's in his mid-70s hauling that thing too. But you can see him, the side to side kind of walk. It's pretty top heavy from my perspective. That's kind of how it feels. It's kind of like you're just like kind of a box. That's the feel you get from that.
Yeah,
I'd love to find one just to like a retro backpacking trip or something.
It'd be funny if they just showed up and like on auction and they just started going for like a ton of money, but nobody actually uses them. You just kind of like put them in your house.
Decoration or something like that. Like this is, but the stories behind them too. Like if you find an antique one, like my father-in-law, he carried his from Amicalola all the way to Damascus, so it's got some miles on it. And then on the top of it, it's got a bunch of patches from all over the Smokies. I don't know if you know this, these little patches that you can get after you've done like Charlie's Bunyan or Klingman's Dome or all the different Case Cove or 20 Mile. All that stuff has pretty much got a patch to it, and he's got a huge part of his pack filled up with it. But one thing that caught my eye was he actually had a Pine Mountain Trail patch on there as well. And I love going there. I was like, wow, this is crazy. It was the same patch you get after you threw I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome. All right, let's move on to our next talking point, which is going to be about the different fabrics. You can kind of weigh in on what your favorite is here. I kind of just do like a top level on this of the few that I know of. And if I miss any, please let me just keep me in line here. So there's DCF. You've got your Cuban fiber, which is still pretty popular. We've got the growing in popularity ultra fabric now, in particular with backpacks. And in one of our last streams, we were talking about hopefully maybe someday in the future, or maybe not, it might come to tents as well. And then there's X-Pack, there's Eco-Pack. I'm not sure if anybody's making it out of Eco-Pack anymore or if they're going to. And then the other one I can think of is maybe like aerobic nylon, something like that. But what did I miss, and what are your favorite as far as like fabrics goes, fellas?
Well, on my first Swift X is actually made of light skin, and that is my gray Swift X, and I really love that pack. It's got a nice waterproofness to it. Never had the water come in. It's a roll top. Then you've got my other Swift X I'm looking at up there, which is X-Pack. Then the other backpacks I have are all like that aerobic nylon type material.
Right on. How about you, Andy? What are some of your favorites?
Well, here's my pack. Here it is. I'm actually just like still unpacking for today. So this is a Dyneema. This is actually a thinner Dyneema than the black edition that I used to have. It's a DCF Huck Point. This is pretty much waterproof. I have put liners in the past, but it's good waterproof material. Roll top. Obviously once it's in there, you lock it down. I haven't had any issues with it. The Ultra material, I have used that on the Waymark through Ultra. I do like that material. I actually ripped it, which is supposed to be very abrasive, like resistant. But I did rip it. I do have like a sample of that fabric. I got this Z-Pax Fupa in that same material. You were talking about a tent. I don't know if that's something I would be interested in, but to show you the inside of what the material looks like, it's still that Dyneema. It is Dyneema. It's just a different process of how they make it. And evidently this is a more expensive material. It's supposed to be where everyone's going with the way of the future, but that's cool. And then that, you're just talking about the Waymark mono. I've got that here as well. It's an Eco-Pack X material as well. I love this thing. I've had some issues with it, with the mile. I'd say the only thing that I had it get waterlogged. It's not waterproof. So you definitely have to have a liner in this pack. So even though this is my day pack, I don't expect it to be in torrential downpour, but when I was out on the Alabama Triple Crown, I got this thing soaked. But it rained for a day and a half. It's not really fair, right? I mean, it's like anything up to that point. But those are the three materials that I like. Everything else, the traditional stuff is great. I have the Arc Haul with the ripstop nylon. That's failed on me too. So liners on those types of packs. So going back to my favorite, the Dyneema Southwest 3400. That's what I use. I like it. That's it.
Yeah, the HMG packs are definitely really popular. They seem to be more durable. I've kind of heard different things about it, but there's no doubt that they're definitely really popular. All right, moving right along, we're going to get into weights really quickly and kind of what to expect. So again, for your ultras and your DCF, I mean, a lot of it kind of ties into fabrics and whether or not it's framed or non-framed. So if it is like a frameless and a Dyneema pack or an ultra pack, that's probably some of the lightest that you can go with. I just picked up one. Actually, let me take a quick second because I want to grab it real quick.
We got props, ladies and gentlemen. We got more props.
We do. I just got it in. Literally just got it in.
Oh, nice.
Andy knows about this, but
nice.
This is the Z-Pax Nero, and this is the DCF and frameless. I got a little 1-inch webbing here. But this bad boy right here, I think weighs somewhere around like 11 ounces, something crazy like that, without the sip head. So crazy ultralight, right? And then as you kind of move through the other fabrics, tends to be a little bit heavier. So that's kind of on the ultralight weight end. And then if you're going frame packs, I don't know, I've seen, 5+ pounds, something like that. But what do you guys think on weights?
Yeah, some of those packs, like I think my first real backpack was like a Bass Pro Ascend 85-liter pack, which is similar to like a Gregory Baltero. That thing's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
4.5, 5 pound pack. It was comfortable though, but it's heavy. And like my Catalyst, I think, is close to maybe 3 pounds, 2.5, 3 pounds.
Yep. Anything on weights there, Metro?
Yeah, so I got some heavyweights and I got some ultralights. So the heaviest pack I have is Gregory Katmai 65. I think that weighs around 5 pounds ish. And I like it because I carry most of my heaviest gear with it. So if I'm using that pack, it's like, well, you're already in for it. You're going a mile, 2 miles, 3, whatever, glamping. I think that's a great pack to use because it's got this like shifting technology to where it doesn't feel like it's
Right.
right in the same spot with your back. The lightest pack I have is either the mile or the ultra through, which is only a pound. But the Southwest 3400 again is 2 pounds. So 2 pounds is pretty much where I want to stay below if I'm going to get a pack in my position in hiking now, I guess. Because it's just, I want to keep the weight of my pack under 15 pounds. So, obviously you get your ultralight. I call myself a semi-light, I guess is what it is. It's like I'm not ultralight at the 10, and I'm not a heavyweight or a midweight, which could be around 20 pounds. I'm a semi-light. So I think it's right between 10 and 15 pounds is my sweet spot as a whole for my base weight.
Yeah, those are some good points. I wanted to name drop one real quick here before we move on to the next topic. And it's just because they're running a sale right now. It's probably going to be over by the time this airs, but REI is running a sale on their Flash 55, which is one of the first frame packs that I got. Retails for about $200 right now. It's like $140, which is kind of insane. It is just under that 3-pound mark for a frame pack, and I think it's pretty legit. If you're going frame pack, 55-liter really isn't that bad. But it is kind of a good segue into our next talking point, which is capacity. And this one, unfortunately, is kind of like you kind of have to dial it in, right? You kind of have to like figure out what works for you for different types of setups, right? You can have your summer loadout, which tends to be a little bit lighter. Then you have your winter winter gear loadout, rather, which tends to be a little bit heavier and takes up a little bit more volume. So in general, again, it's based off of liters, right? And usually it can go anywhere down to like somewhere around 20 liters for like a day pack. The Miro that I have is 38 liters, and that's more for like an ultralight type of setup. For me personally, a sweet spot, especially if I'm going around 15-pound base weight or so, is somewhere around the 50-liter mark. But like Huck said, you can get up to 85, 90 liters if you want to go crazy. Yeah. But those are kind of my sweet spots. What do you guys like as far as the overall capacity of your packs goes?
Go ahead, Metro. Let you start off on this one.
Okay, yeah. So most of the time, day hikes, right? 28 liters, I got everything I need. I use the Gatewood Cape as my emergency shelter. I've got everything I need for the most part as a day hiker would need. So I have my Kumo from Gossamer Gear, but that's more of my hammock setup. And 38, I think it's 38, 36 liter, 38 liter.
36, right, yeah.
And then my go-to, again, is the Southwest 3400, mainly because it's a 55 liter and I can go up or down with my weight and it's not going to be an issue. Now, again, rolling it out, it's got a stack on it so it can go higher on my head, but normally I have it, packed down pretty good. But it's been enough for me, especially with the 40 liter, 44 liter-ish areas where I'm at with my stuff already. I don't have to buy a different pack. So that's been my go-to right there. So I would say the 55 liter is great for the winter. I have had the smaller 40-liter packs is probably for the summer ways, what I probably use as well. So that's right around that. I guess that's my sweet spot, 40 to 55.
Right on. That's solid. How about you, Huck? What do you like to go for?
So my go-to pack is the Swift X, and that one is coming in at a 49-liter pack, I believe. And it's the main body is like inside, I think is 38 liters. It seems like a bigger pack. There's so much room in there. Like you put a bear canister in there if you need to, or put it on top, and just it's a comfortable pack. For day, I've used it for overnight or for like week-long trips, and it's got enough room where I can add in stuff for either trip.
Awesome. All right, we got another prop here.
So
What we got there?
it's got to be at least this wide, though. So regardless of the years, I want it to be wide enough that I can fit my tent. They're about this width here, because I like to stack all my stuff up.
Okay.
The bag, then my tent, and then all my stuff kind of going up. So no matter what the liter is, it has to be at least this wide. And most of the packs, this will fit just perfectly inside of it.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. It's I don't know. I took it into consideration for a pack that I just returned, which was a Gossamer Gear like ultralight pack, which is the Murmur. It was like just wide enough, but it wasn't really good from like stacking from front to back. It was kind of just like you only had one level and then kind of everything kind of stacked on top of that. Yeah, my preferred, I think, for a little bit higher of a haul would probably be the Mariposa, which is a 60-liter. I probably should have went with the Gorilla, which is closer to 50. But then I'm going to try using this Nero for more of my ultralight setup. All right, guys, that is some great stuff. Let's move on over into the price points that you can expect.
Boy.
Yeah, talk about wide ranging here. We've got, I don't know, for me personally on the lower end, I really dig. I got from the Japanese company, 3FUL Gear, I got their pack, which I'm not even going to try to say the name. It has an official name, but I'm not going to even try it. And I think it's about 55 liters. It's a 2-pound pack. It's frameless, and you can get it for like $60. Is it going to be waterproof? No, but I think it's like legit. Like it's comfortable enough. It's not going to be ultra comfortable. And then I think the durability has been tested over time as well, with a lot of different reviews on that one. So that is like ridiculously cheap and decently lightweight, especially for the money. And then you've got on the other like extreme end, you got these Osprey packs, sort of like what Andy was talking about, with like the suspensions that kind of float with you, and they're charging what, like $700 something, something crazy like that. But normally I would say in general, like the price points for like DCF and Ultra nowadays, sort of like the upper end, you can expect somewhere around 300, maybe 400 with some mods on it or some additions. And then everything kind of like stacks up in between. But what do you guys think on price points for packs? Is it legit? Is it too bloated for certain things? Is it out of hand? What are your thoughts on that? Let's start with Huck on this one.
Well, college companies, you're going to pay that premium price for. You're going to be able to customize it a little bit more. So the price is going to be more than, say, like an off-the-rack pack like Osprey, Gregory, or REI. But like I was just looking at my Swift X, and now the Swift X with the vest harness is like $375. And then you've got like ULA, where I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but you can do the customization there, where you can customize like different panels or different colors of X Pack. Other companies like Ben over at Hilltop Packs, he's got customization where you can do like pictures on it. So, and that's going to cost a lot more money as well. So I would say anywhere from, you're going from like $100 for one of the cheaper ones up to like $200 for the mid range and $300, $400 for the upper range.
Yep, that's solid. What do you think, Andy?
Yep. So obviously my two is right around $379, which I think is exorbitant a little bit from my perspective. Especially since they're not made in Maine anymore. That's something I
Which one was that?
Hyperlight is not made in the United States anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
they're out
Mexico, right?
To Mexico. So my original 2400 was the black one. Actually, it said made in Maine. I wish I would have kept it, but the torso was too big, so I turned it in. Got the Southwest 3400. And it was the one made in Mexico. I feel like it wasn't as best. I don't think it was worth $379. I think that it is a little bit overblown in terms of the price. But to Huck's point, like if someone is making custom printed Dyneema, like who does that? Ben does over at Hilltop Packs, and then he's got to stitch together a backpack for you. I think that deserves more of a premium than say even those that have their established like turn and burn models. So if it's a limited batch, like the Polente packs, where it's like stupid hard to get one, like super custom, I think that deserves the biggest premium. And then those that are like churn and burn, I think that they should be around $250 or less is what the price point should be, and anything beyond that is a little bit of a reach.
Yeah, those are great points. I agree with all of it. I was going to add a little bit of something, but you kind of just covered it. All right. Quick one for the next one. Does waterproof really matter? So I don't think any manufacturer that's out there says that any of their packs are 100% waterproof,
right.
But there tends to be this notion where, like, if I go with Ultra, I go with DCF, it's supposed to be waterproof, so I'm going to spend the extra money to get that particular feature. I'm not even going to tell you what the answer is there. I'll just let you guys kind of take it from there. But Andy, what do you think about that? Is waterproof like a selling point? Like if you're new to backpacking, should you get a pack because the material is supposed to be more waterproof?
I don't think so. I mean, again, I kind of covered it even with that Waymark model. It's not a waterproof, but heavy water resistant. Every one of these materials is going to fail. The question is not necessarily the material; it hasn't been seam sealed, right? So, if you get this wonderful product that has a wonderful fabric on it, and it hasn't been seam sealed, it's still going to fail on you. So, the first thing is to check that out. And I do think it matters. I think for the most part, unless you're just like, oh, you know what, torrential downpour again, you're going to get rained on. You're going to be, oh, this sucks. I'm going to move to the side somewhere and I'm going to wait it out. If you're just trying to like stand underneath a waterfall, and
you're not going to do it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's all about how much can I keep off of me to where I can get to camp and then figure it out from there. But if it's raining, after you get wet, it doesn't matter. I guess at that point it doesn't. So I guess that first night matters until you can try out. So that's when it matters the most.
Right. What do you think there, Huck?
It matters, but at the same point, you got to pair. If your pack is water resistant, I won't say waterproof, more water resistant. You want to make sure it's paired with a pack liner, somewhere in there for your gear.
Right.
But like the light skin material, it's water resistant. There are seams, like Andy was saying, where the water's going to find a way in. But I have not backpacked with like a pack cover for a while now. With the new materials like the X pack, like the light skin, DCF, I'm just going to roll with it and then make sure my stuff is covered with a pack liner inside.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would definitely recommend either a pack cover or some sort of pack line, especially anything that you want to keep dry. Nowadays, what we're doing is we're putting like all the stuff that we want to keep dry. Yeah, there you go. Andy's got the Mod Bell. Is that the umbrella or the coat?
That's the umbrella. So
there you go. Yeah. So yeah, Huck and I both have do you have the Gossamer gear, Huck?
No, this one is the Six Moon Designs.
Six Moons.
This one, this is their Silver Shadow Carbon, and I've got the SUL Rain Shadow. This one I haven't even used. I've got a green one that I've used all the time. Is my daily one. Yeah.
Right on.
This is the Rainwalker SUL. It's like, what is this, 5 ounces? I have 5.5 ounces.
Yeah, the umbrellas are crazy. I mean, I would still always recommend some sort of pack liner for your quilts and anything else that you want to, like, you have to keep dry so you don't risk any kind of hypothermia. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think in general, you don't want to have something that's going to wet out. A lot of the material, I would say, is more water resistant, especially in a light rain. You're probably pretty good, but nothing like Andy's saying. If you're catching yourself under any kind of Jason waterfalls there, it's not gonna work too well. All right. We covered a lot of them so far, but the next category is going to be the pros and cons of each. And I think here I'm going to probably stick more towards like the frame versus non-frame kind of stuff. Obviously, the pro for the non-frame is that it's ultra light, but you have to think a little bit more about how you pack your pack, how it kind of rides on your back. With a frame, it's not that you don't have to think about it as much, but you don't really, right? Like you can kind of have it in certain areas, certain heavy pieces or whatnot, because you can, especially with load lift, or shift that from your shoulders to your waist, which I think is a huge pro for a frame pack. I've done that before. Feels really nice, especially with heavier loads, to be able to shift that from one to the other. And with a non-frame pack, you don't really have that many options to shift that weight around. But what other kind of pros and cons do you guys think about when it comes to different packs? Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Your comment about how you load up the pack, I'm pretty consistent on that one. I don't know. It's always like, the sleeping bag, the tent, and then the food with all the heavier stuff, and then the stuff that I need more access to as I go up. I'd say the pros and cons is the material is going to be more fragile on the lighter stuff than the heavier stuff. Like the ripstop, is going to take a little bit more of a beating than the Dyneema. Now, depending on how thick it is, you might be able to do a couple scrapes and some good, jabs here and there, or you throw the pack down and, oh, shouldn't have done that, and it might bounce back. You don't forget about it. I mean, even with your lightweight pack, you just like you're tired, you throw it down, you're just like, oh, I'm packing all day. Oh, just some big old log, So the pros and cons are on that. But again, to the point of stacking it though, like especially if you got the right gear, I've got the pods that go inside. So again, Dyneema. I know we just talked about waterproof, but pros, if you get the right pack and you have the right gear, you can stack it very well. Cons, everything is fragile, everything is expensive, and you kind of have to be one of those like hikers, like, oh, I'm gotta watch my gear. I can't just be trekking on. Yeah,
it's definitely something to be said with like if you're tough on gear or not.
Yes.
So what do you think, Huck? Do you have any other pros and cons?
Pros as far as the frame go is weight. It's going to carry the weight better, especially here in Southern California. You get there's not as many water sources as there are in some of the places back east or even up north, and there's many places where you're having to carry your water for the day, or especially if you're doing the desert hiking or just even the local mountains, just there's not as many water sources, so you've got to carry more weight, and that frame pack just seems to carry that weight better.
Right on. All good points. One of the last ones that I have here are going to be for pro tips. For me personally, it's really about like how you choose to sort of like accessorize, almost kind of a weird word to use with it. But, for me personally, it's like, especially if you're buying something that's a little bit more slimmed down, like a non-frame pack, do you want to add a brain back to it? Like you have options to kind of like build stuff back if you want to. And then it's also like different mods for like shoulder straps, for a water bottle sleeve or something like that. To Andy's point too, it really depends on the type of fabric. I'm always, very careful with my gear. So I make sure that I'm not just kind of like throwing it around or throwing it on the ground, but it really does depend on the type of fabric that you do have on your pack. But what other kind of like pro tips with using a backpack do you guys, or can you guys think of?
Well, one I really like is a vest harness.
Yes.
I know there's only a few of the companies that offer the vest harness, but it's just so much more comfortable having that vest harness instead of just the regular shoulder straps. Like the 6mm Designs, it's got a couple extra pockets in there, and it just helps with the carry, helps with the load on your back. And I think it was 6mm Designs. I keep going back to them. I love their packs, but they're Ron Moak, the designer of them, the guy that actually started 6mm Designs, he created the vest harness to help with his back problems. So that if you've got back problems, a vest harness would be the way to go. But then, like you said, mods. Most of the newer backpacks, the customizable ones, don't have a brain. And to me, when I first did that, I thought that was like the weirdest thing in the world, like not having a brain. Where am I going to get all my stuff? Where am I going to put my headlamp? Where am I going to put my wallet? Come to find out, there's this middle pocket in the rest of the packs that fits everything just fine. But other pro tips, just I'd say packing it at home before you get out. Practice packing it, just like with a tent. Practice setting it up. Same thing with a backpack. Practice putting your gear in there and see how it rides. Maybe do a couple of walks around the neighborhood. If it starts hurting their shoulders, maybe go through and rearrange stuff, put the weight in a different spot, and once again, walk around in the neighborhood, see how that feels. That's a couple pro
Right on.
tips.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to try out that vest style strap. I think there's a couple, like you mentioned, that are doing it. I really want to check that out because I do hear that it's more comfortable, especially with like the UL pack. So I would really love to try that out. But how about you, Andy? What do you got for pro tips on backpacks?
For me, I have learned the art of just simplifying what you're taking. But to your point, get to know your gear. Like every time I go out, I look at what I used and what I didn't use. What did I touch and what I didn't touch. And if I didn't touch it, I keep kind of shifting it to the side. But to the point, where you place it, put it in your pack. The brain, I've actually got that whatever that Uber pack that I got from Z-Packs. This is kind of like what I put all of my stuff that I need to grab. So if it was on top of the pack, traditionally, I don't like carrying this in the front because I don't want that heat there. So I just take this and I stuff it in the front of the sack. So if I ever need a quick grab of all the stuff, I know it's all in here. So the Zitty sack, the charging station, whatever it might be, all that stuff is in this one. So pro tips is get to know your gear, but compartmentalize as best as possible.
Yeah.
And, and don't, I like to be as free flowing as possible. I don't like to have all the stuff all over me, man. I just want it to be so I don't have to. But I'm constantly filming though, so it's a little bit of a different perspective for me.
Yeah.
With chest gear, I hang my camera off of my little strap, so I got to have that for quick access to trekking. I just kind of do that kind of stuff. So for me, it's all about simplifying it. Don't make a habit of constantly trying to get to your stuff either. I found that it's like if you plan ahead and it's like, when do I really need to get into my stuff? And when you put things away, remember where you put them. So knowing your gear, where you put them, so you're not constantly freaking out, where am I put my keys? Or where's my batteries? Or where's my mace? At that point, you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Just get to your gear, where you put it, simplify it, and distribute the weight as best as possible, and you'll have a better hike. That's my pro tips with this stuff. In terms of put it away, leave it there, and just hike.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. That's why I love doing a roundtable discussion too, because you get all these different viewpoints that you just might not get from one point of view. And then the last one that we always like to go with here on this show is just the final verdict. Well, obviously it's kind of all encompassing. So to say like, are you a fan of one over the other? Obviously, because we love backpacking here. But maybe I guess what do you like more so than the other? Maybe. For me personally, to kind of like echo Snackbox from a previous episode, I kind of view it where, especially if you're looking to shed weight, I think that a lot of people who end up kind of going towards a non-frame pack, especially for lighter loads, never really tend to go backwards with it or tend to go like, oh, that's not really for me, and then just switch back to the frame pack. But obviously, I think, in my opinion, it really depends on what type of trip you're going on. If you're hot tenting or something like that, it might be a big difference compared to if you're in like 70, 80 degree weather. But what do you guys think on the final verdict for packs?
All right. Well, for me, I think it's a mixed bag. I am not a purist. I don't have any like, oh, I gotta do this every time. I throw luxury items in there all the time based on the type of hike. So, and there was one pack that I didn't mention that I thought should get some props to. It's a Gregory Optic 58.
Oh, I love that pack.
It's a heavier pack.
I'm looking at it. I did the High Sierra Trail with that pack. I think it was almost like 40-something pounds. And that thing carried like a dream.
It distributes the weight a lot better, especially if you have back issues. So, to your point, heavier gear, bigger packs, go for comfort. So final verdict is take the pack that works the best for you. And if possible, don't take any pack because that's miserable. Every time you have to put more weight on you, that's less enjoyment when you're on trail. So it's like simplify what you take, lighter is always better. You're going to be able to go further without thinking to myself, man, I wish I wouldn't have brought this with me. You know, that's my final verdict is simplify, lessen up if you're trying to do miles, but if you're trying to have a good time and, you know, do only a couple miles like a Pine Mountain Trail or whatever it might be, get the bigger stuff, take it, the bigger stuff, who cares? It really comes down to your style and where you're going to go hike or camp.
That's true.
For myself, yeah, for myself, it all depends on the trip, the miles I have to put in. If it's going to be like the trip we did, Dave, where it was just to Alder Creek, I'm going to carry a bigger pack where I can put a few more luxury items in. And if it's a trip where I got to make miles, I'm having maybe make 15, 18, 20-mile days, it's going to be a lot lighter of a load. And I might go with that frameless pack, or maybe like I have the minimalist pack, which is framed, but it's a real light, ultra light frame, and they're like a little wire frame. And if I just need to make the miles, yeah, frameless or that light frame.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's going to round it up for this one. I'm going to do quick plugs on you guys. I know Andy's channel, if you haven't already heard of him, head on over, check him out. He's Metro on the Move here on YouTube. And then we've got Jason from Huck Outdoors, just Huck Outdoors here on YouTube. I'm going to switch it over and let you guys kind of plug your I'm going to let you plug your other socials here. So Andy, you can start first, then we'll switch over to Huck and then round up and get out of here.
Yeah. So if you want to reach out to me, I'm at Metro on the Move, just one long at as my handle on Instagram. And then my YouTube channel is just youtube.com/Metro on the Move. Make sure you leave a comment. Love to hear from you. Obviously, we'd love to have you subscribe. We're growing. Part of my new initiatives for 2023 is to actually bring up smaller channels. Love to hear from you. Love to check out your channel. And then we'll probably give you a shout out on my live stream as well. It's kind of all about embracing the community. I don't really go for the bigger guys. I don't like the bigger channels. It's not that I don't appreciate them. It's just I want to hear more about the people that are coming up in the community. So reach out to me, Metro on the Move on YouTube, as well as at Metro on the Move on Instagram. Love to hear from you. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, I had the honor of being on your stream recently and had a blast. Awesome. All right, and Huck, what else? I know you're on Instagram. Anything else?
Instagram, YouTube, it's Huck Outdoors. I actually have huckoutdoors.com, but not much on there yet. I thought about doing some blogging. But yeah, Huck Outdoors, YouTube, Instagram, not huckoutdoors.net. That takes you to some hunting weather, like hunting clothing channels. I don't know how they came up with that, but yeah. huckoutdoors.com, Huck Outdoors on YouTube and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, again, appreciate your time tonight, gentlemen, and thanks for taking some time out to talk about backpacks tonight. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Awesome.